welcome to my channel. So my name is Georgia, and for the past 6 months I have been living and working in France, which has been like one of the most amazing experiences, honestly. But with the past few weeks and everything that was happening with the corona epidemic, things started getting a little bit crazy. So unfortunately I've had to return to Australia. So I wanted to share with you guys my story of what it was like trying to get back to Australia with all of these strict regulations that they started implementing, because honestly it was one of the most bizarre and stressful experiences. Yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys what it was like. So in the last 48 hours, like, so much has changed in France. They announced that the schools are going to be closed. So basically I can stay here and I can keep working, but I won't be going to school. So it'll be like over WhatsApp, or probably more like no classes at all, realistically. So I've been like not really sure what to do, but I'm thinking now I might just go home to Australia. So previously I was planning on staying here until my contract ended in April 30th, and then I was going to go be an au pair in Lille in the north of France for 2 months and then travel around. But now I'm like, if everything's shutting down, like museums and like planes and everything, I'm not even going to be able to travel around in my free time. I'm just kind of going to be stuck here in France. So I'm kind of thinking of going back to Australia, which I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this has all just happened in like pretty much 24 hours. Like this time yesterday, I was like, I'm definitely not going back. Like, there's no point in going back to Australia. I might as well stay in Europe. But now that the schools are shut and like everything's closing down, I don't want to be stuck here with no flights going out of France. So I'm currently going through all of my stuff and trying to pack. I don't know, I have managed to accumulate so much stuff just from 6 months of being in France. So I've started packing my bag over here and I'm just like trying to throw stuff out. I have a keyboard which I'm giving away for free, so I just put an ad up and someone's going to come get it tonight. And then I have all my ski gear as well, which I borrowed, so I'm giving all that back. So yeah, things are a little bit crazy right now. It doesn't seem real that this week I could buy a flight and leave. Oh, I thought I was going to stay here at least until July, and it's only March. So kind of feeling really sad and nostalgic and like not ready to go, but at the same time it will be good to be back home, be with my family and everything. So basically yesterday, everything has changed so much, like in a few days. So yesterday I decided I would book my flight and go back home to Australia. So I've been working in France as a language assistant, and I was supposed to stay here until April 30th, and then I was meant to go be an au pair in the north of France, but that's not going to happen anymore because basically, well, yesterday they basically said that all cafes, bars, public spaces, so this is also like restaurants, everything, from midnight that night, so midnight Sunday morning, everything would be shut. So schools are shut, so schools where I'm working are shut, cafes and everything are shut, and like the whole place is basically going into like, I don't know, it's like an apocalypse. This is actually insane. So yeah, I just felt like with everything being shut, me having to just stay inside anyway, it's probably better to try and get home now. And I wanted to try and get home like before things got any worse, but it's kind of scary because in the last, like I said, like yesterday, all the bars and everything now have to be shut. So I'm worried because I've booked my flight for Thursday and it leaves from Paris. I currently live in the south of France, which is like a 10-hour train from Paris. So I have a train to Paris on tomorrow night, so Monday night. And then I was going to spend 2 days in Paris and then get my flight out on Thursday. And I kind of thought, okay, with my 2 days, at least I can like, I don't know, go to the shops or something. Like now I think I'm just going to be in a hostel, not able to leave. And I'm kind of worried if the hostel will stay open because I've booked a 10-bed dorm and they're kind of like trying to avoid being around other people. Yeah, it's just crazy. So it's so crazy because Thursday I was like, I'm definitely not going home, like I'm going to stay in France, and here I am, it's only Sunday and like everything has changed. I've packed up everything. I borrowed all this ski gear so I could go skiing. So yesterday I was giving it all back, and like my room is empty now. I'll just quickly show you. So yeah, here is 6 months worth of my life packed into 2 suitcases. I did come up with 1 suitcase only, so I've definitely gotten a lot more stuff. But yeah, like all my cupboards are empty now. I'm just charging my things, getting ready to leave tomorrow night. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how the situation progresses. They also just released a statement saying that if you've come from one of the at-risk countries and France is on the list, and you're coming back to Australia, you have to be in quarantine for 14 days, so like self-isolation. So I'm going to be in self-isolation when I get back home for 2 weeks. So that should be fun. At least I have my dog, I'll have my piano, I can just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna practice piano for 2 whole weeks straight, nothing else. And maybe like write a book or something. We'll see. Maybe I'll make YouTube videos. Anyway, I'll try and see what happens with the situation and keep updated. I went to the supermarket this morning and it was like madness. I don't know if it was just because of all these things that were announced last night or what, but like I think everything was empty and there was people with masks and gloves on, and I was like, wow, this is insane. This is actually like I'm living in an apocalypse. Like people are going to talk about this in the future and talk about like when coronavirus happened, and I'll be like, we lived through this, like we saw this happen. It's crazy right now. Okay, so it's Monday today, so I'm leaving tonight. I'm just walking now to like an op shop where I can drop off some of my old clothes because I have way too much stuff in my bag. I believe this is my last day here in Umbran. Beautiful mountains I'm going to miss. Bag of clothes here, and it's like 3 k's away from where I live, so I'm just walking there now. Taken me forever to find somewhere to actually give clothes. Oh my god, finally found it. Okay, so I thought I'd give a little bit of an update on what is happening. Basically, I'm supposed to get my train to Paris tonight. It's an overnight train, so it takes 11 hours. And I arrive on Tuesday morning. I'm trying to change my flight to be on Tuesday because currently it's on Thursday. And I'm worried that if France closes the borders to stops flights going out of the country, then I will be screwed. I'm also very worried because I contacted my hostel where I'd booked to stay for the 2 nights between Tuesday and Thursday, and I was like, are you guys still going to be open? And they were basically like, we don't really know until we get different orders saying that we have to close or saying something. So I don't even know if there's going to be accommodation. Yeah, it's so crazy. It feels so apocalyptic at the moment. So I went past one supermarket and everyone was lined up outside waiting to go in with their trolleys. And I was like, I'm not going to bother, like I don't really need anything. So I went to this smaller one that's near my house and I went inside and it was like all the staff working there had masks and gloves on. They'd marked out on the floor where you have to stand so that you're like a meter apart from the person in front of you. They also had this like sanitary box area so that when you go to the cashier and you stand there, you're away from the cashier because there's a box in front of you. And it just felt like so apocalyptic, so unreal. Honestly, it just feels like a sci-fi movie at the moment. Anyway, I've been like super stressed because I've been trying to call. I'm with Thai Airways, I've booked, and I've been trying to call them like all day, trying to change my flight. But obviously everyone is calling today and all of the lines are always busy. I called the line in Thailand and I was on the phone for like 10 minutes just on hold and it cost me 20 euros. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to stay on hold for who knows how long. So yeah, my plan is that I get the train tomorrow. I get the train tonight, arrive tomorrow, and I'm just going to go straight to the airport and talk to them at the airport and be like, please help me change my flight, or at least let me cancel so I can book another one that's sooner. Yeah, this is weird times. And then there was another curveball thrown into the mix. Macron's speech. So the president of France did a speech at 8 p.m. and I was all packed up and ready to get my train at 8:55. But I knew I had to watch this speech in case he said something really important. So during this speech he announced what was my biggest fear that he would say, and that was that they were closing the borders between France and other countries, there wouldn't be any more transport, and from 12 p.m. the next day, there wouldn't be flights going out of France. I remember just feeling so defeated. I think all of the stress of the previous few days and trying to get everything organized, and now in my mind it was like, okay, I'm going back to Australia, like I know this is happening. And then for him to announce that there wouldn't be any planes, and I remember just like putting my head on the table and I was like, what do I even do? I have a train in like 15 minutes that I'm supposed to go to Paris, and I don't even know if there'll be flights when I get there. And I remember messaging my mum, and it was 3 a.m. in Australia, and she had her phone on because she knew that I would be stressed in case something was happening. And she was like trying to research it because he'd only just said the speech and it was in French, so I was like, did I even understand properly what he was saying? Like, is there no flights or just limited flights? So in the end, about 15 minutes before my train was meant to leave, my roommate was just like, just go and like, just try. Like, the best you can do is try and get a flight, and if not, you just have to come back here and stay here until this whole thing is over. So I quickly like grabbed all of my things. I quickly said goodbye because it was like a 10-minute walk to the train station usually, but I had 2 suitcases, a backpack, an over-shoulder bag, like all of my stuff. It was so heavy. So I rushed to say goodbye after living with her for 6 months, and like ran out the door, went to the train station and hopped on the train, not knowing if I would even be able to get a flight the next day. So on the train, even that was like a pretty unique experience, I guess, getting the overnight train. So there were 6 beds, 2 bunk beds with 3 in them, and so you sleep on the train. And I remember just having like the weirdest sleep because I kind of like kept waking up and being stressed, and then I'd like drift back into sleep and kind of forget what was happening, but it was always in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to the airport, like, am I going home, am I not, what's even happening? So then first thing in the morning when I arrived in Paris, I went straight to the airport, and there I was met with even more bad news. So I was going to try and change my ticket to be that day, and when I went up and asked her, she was like, we don't have a ticketing office here, you can't change your ticket at the airport, you have to call them. And I was like, I've been calling them, like I've been doing that the past 48 hours. And obviously all the staff there, like I felt bad for the staff because I cannot imagine how stressful it would be. The airport was already packed, it was only 9 a.m. and there was already so many people. Flights had been cancelled, so there was like groups of angry people. Like, what? Our flights are cancelled? Like, what are we supposed to do? And yeah, it was really, I think everyone was just so tense. So at that point when she was like, you have to call them, like there's no flights. But I had researched before and I knew there was an Emirates one at 2 p.m. that day. So she was like, you have to go to the other terminal. And at this point I had all of my bags and everything, and it was kind of like in my mind, I was like, I'm at the airport already, I just want to go home, like I'm so tired. So I went to the other terminal and I managed to find on my phone that the Emirates flight there were still tickets available, and I asked someone there and he was like, yeah, the Emirates one's still running. And I was like, it's 1,700 Australian dollars, I've already spent $1,000 on the Thai flight, like I can't, like part of me was like, I don't want to pay this much more, but then another part of me was just so fed up and tired. And I mean, I'm really lucky that my parents lent me money just in case for emergencies, like otherwise I wouldn't have even been able to buy this flight. So I feel like I'm so blessed to have been in that situation, but there's so many people who aren't, like, who don't have cash available just to buy another flight. So in the end I was like, you know what, stuff it, I'm gonna buy the flight. I bought the flight, lined up, and I didn't really feel like I was actually going to make it home until I landed at the layover in Dubai, and I was like, okay, I'm in the airport, I've made it. So just one more flight to go and then I'll be in Perth again. And it was just so crazy as well because everywhere you go you see people with full-on masks, you see people carrying like a whole bottle of hand sanitizer around, and it's like you'd be on the plane, someone just coughs and you quickly whip out the hand sanitizer, quickly sanitize your hands because everyone is so paranoid of getting sick. And it's so weird because even things like I would touch a handrail or something and be like, oh my god, I've just touched a handrail, like I need to sanitize my hands, washing my hands like crazy. But eventually I made it back to Perth after 22 hours or so. To Perth, finally! It was a really really long journey, but I made it back, and once I got back I was just honestly so glad to be home and just so grateful, because this was really, really stressful. I know it doesn't sound like probably the most stressful situation, but when you're in that moment and you just don't know if you're going to make it home, like what's going to happen, where are you going to live, yeah, and I know there's still so many other people who are still stuck overseas, and my thoughts are really with them, because now if there's no flights available, which there aren't, I know in some countries, for people to be able to come back home, it is really just an awful situation to be in. So I feel really blessed that I made it back. And although I'm stuck in 14-day isolation and it's kind of boring, it's okay. Being bored is a luxury, I think. So it's better than being stressed. So yeah, I'm really glad I made it back. And I really hope that this corona situation gets better, because I think so many people are in such hard situations at the moment. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. I thought it would just be kind of interesting to share what it was like being overseas when all of this happened. And stay tuned for more self-isolation videos to come. Bye!